Thanks once again. Today the emphasis will be on art, not on technology. I've created this moon model from a plaster and just some artistic touches to create the effects that you see there. There are a limited amount of videos out there on how to create this, so I decided to give it a shot and share my experiences. I use my display turntable because it allowed me to work on all sides of the model without having to move myself. I emphasize the thickness of the model, that way it doesn't break when I'm manipulating it and putting it inside of its display tray. In terms of creating the features, I was not sure how to do this. There are no instructions on how to do this. Best way I found was wait till it slowly starts to dry, and as it starts to dry you can then carve out and insert the little features as required. It's actually quite hard to create a random effect. For this I recommend creating some sort of a plan or a mud model on where you want to insert the features, such as mountains, cliffs, craters, and cracks in the surface as well, because as time progresses it gets harder and harder and it starts to dry very quickly, and then you won't be able to manipulate it without actually breaking the mold itself. So just give it a shot and slowly manipulate it. Having said that, if you really need to, you can always dab it with some water and then make it smooth again, and then slowly carve out those pieces. To insert the mountains, I just added some extra additional plaster and manipulate it to look like a mountain. And just a preliminary test of the actual concept itself. Looking good so far. Now comes the part of where I need to mount this onto a structure which would actually illuminate it. Noting the plaster was thick enough, I still do want to risk breaking it. From here you'll get to see me making some slight modifications to the model by using a Dremel tool, so I can make the parts more jagged edge and more defined under different lighting conditions as well. Features on the moon experience very little erosion, if any, so it's important to try and replicate some of those. Using the Dremel allowed me to do that. For the mounting frame I used a combination of 5mm MDF and 5-ply to create the base and the surrounding rings from which I would secure the model, and then subsequently install the LEDs around it. I set it up so the LEDs sit just above the model so it can actually cast a shadow when illuminated. And there's an example of how I mounted the LEDs on the second ring. And here's the test run. I didn't want there to be any cables or anything hanging off it, so the entire system is self-contained. The spaces there allow for all the electronics to be installed. And then finally painting the outer rim, and then the back end as well. This unit is flexible. I can actually control each light individually, and eventually if I need to I can connect it to a wireless controller as well. Initially I'm powering it using 3 AA batteries, which will give me about 6 or 7 hours for all 3 colours. I can create a combination of colours as required by replacing or switching those pins across to power the different colour LEDs. There's what it looks like at night time, with no surrounding lights or ambient lights in the area, and there's what it looks like with some ambient light. Either way it looks really cool, and it looks quite detailed as well when you come up close. Please feel free to subscribe, leave a comment, or send me an email. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.